It's amazing that the focus has tended to be on the journalists themselves and not on the allegedly corrupt police officers. We've been receiving money to provide protected information. But it does show that there's a sort of endemic corruption and a failure of accountability and oversight as well.
A whistleblower who exposed the News of the World phone hacking scandal has been found dead. Sean Hoare was a journalist at the shamed newspaper and claimed editors knew what was happening and encouraged reporters to do it. He was found dead at his home near London. Police are treating it as unexplained but not suspicious. Hoare directly named his former editor Andy Coulson for knowing about illegal hacking, which he denies. Well, later on Tuesday, Rupert Murdoch, his son James and his former UK executive Rebecca Brooks will face the wrath of British MPs. They'll be asked to explain the scandal that's shaken the press, police and political establishment to its core. In fact, the police are enduring their worst crisis in years, with senior officers resigning over being intertwined with implicated News Corporation staff, as Laura Emmett explains.
Ian Tomlinson died in London's G20 protest in 2009 after being pushed to the ground by PC Simon Harwood. Harwood said he'd been prevented from giving first aid by a baying, bottle-throwing mob. He later admitted that hadn't happened. Jean-Charles de Menezes shot by police in a London Underground station in 2005. Officers allegedly leaked a report saying he'd fled from police. CCTV images later showed this wasn't true. Less well known is Michael Doherty, a man who went to the police for help, only for it to turn into a Kafkaesque web of allegedly false statements and mistreatment.
It felt like they were targeting me. I obviously have no protection from the law in this country. I think it's completely outrageous.
Doherty told police he suspected his 13-year-old daughter was being groomed by a paedophile. Concerned, they referred it to his local station's sex crime unit. Then, nothing. After 2 weeks, Doherty phoned the unit's secretary. That's when the trouble started.
It's just police harassment. Can you just get out of my house? I've told you to stay out of my house.
Police came to Doherty's house at dawn to arrest him for harassing the police secretary. Shortly after his arrest, he learnt the investigation into his daughter's grooming had been dropped by police. Records show they hadn't looked at any of the evidence. The police secretary has since admitted she has a hazy recollection of the telephone calls she said upset her so much, but only when presented with tapes of the conversations Doherty had luckily recorded. The officers involved in his arrest were found to be at fault and sent on a retraining course, but Doherty believes that's not enough.
I don't think that they're anything different than you or I, and I think that this is normal society. If they've done something criminal, they need to be held accountable in the same way that anybody else would be in a court.
Doherty's account of lies and harassment by the police is by no means unique. But the phone hacking scandal has brought stories like his into the public eye, revealing bribery and corruption at the heart of the police force.
It's amazing that the focus has tended to be on the journalists themselves and not on the allegedly corrupt police officers who have been receiving money to provide protected information. But it does show that there's a sort of endemic corruption and a failure of accountability and oversight as well within the police force.
2 of the country's most senior police officers have resigned this week, and 2 more are under investigation after relations between News Corp and the police were revealed to have been far too cosy.
Senior police officers were wining and dining with members of the Murdoch empire. They were meeting them for drinks privately. One even hired them at £1,000 a day to work for him. So, you know, what does this tell us about the relationship between the police and the News Corporation employees? Well, it's very, very serious. And if this can happen at the top of the police, look at the example that gives to officers down the lines.
The Home Secretary has announced a review into the workings of the police to rebuild public trust. That's of little comfort to Michael Doherty, who says he's traumatised by his experience at the hands of the people he turned to for help. The phone hacking scandal has many far-reaching implications, from the potential breakup of a media empire to a loss of faith in the British press. But it's also pushed into the spotlight once again a police force that appears only to tell the truth when it's caught out in a lie. Many are now asking how justice can prevail. Laura Emmett, RT, London.